Okay, good afternoon again, everyone. We are here for the start of the afternoon session, session 4 at the 2022 SIDS Global Business Network Forum. Thank you all for coming back promptly from lunch. My name, again, is Paul Holtus. I'm the founding CEO and president of the World Ocean Council, which is the global blue economy business and investment organization. And we're honored to have been invited to chair this session, to serve as moderator for this session on the blue economy. So to start things off, I'd like to invite Mr. Eos Rudim, the governor of Koror State here in Palau. We're honored to have him to open this blue economy session. So please join me in welcoming the governor.
Thank you. Good afternoon. We'll 12. In the interest of time, let me start the blue economy message from Koror State. Ali, welcome to Palau. On behalf of the people of Koror, I extend a warm welcome to all our guests and partners and friends from abroad. As a global community, we have convened on the shores of our small island home in Palau as head of states, ambassadors, and ministers and nations, NGOs, leaders of the world economies, and community leaders with a mutual goal to address and mitigate fast and continuing a changing environment and save our ocean. Today, we are grappling with issues of great concern that continue to threaten the health and welfare of the people from all corners of the world, that have crippled the economies, impacted livelihoods, and threatened the very physical existence of the nation. It's fitting that the OOC Forum, where discussions and search of solutions to address our mounting ocean-related challenges, is taking place here in this small island state, where our share of vulnerabilities for our global ocean can be seen and felt. This is a welcome global conference that will provide one-on-one and first-hand opportunities to present perspectives from different sectors and stakeholders around the world with one ultimate objective: to strengthen our commitments to achieving sustainable development on basis of blue economy. Palau vulnerabilities as low-lying island state present opportunity to highlight possible solutions from experts and committed partners towards crafting of both local and global solutions with renewed commitment to continue to build the resiliency of our oceans to mitigate the impact of climate change. The ocean is the foundation of our survival and prosperity, and our common purpose here together is to protect and sustain and to allow and continue the foundation of our survival. Resiliency and all solutions will only come to form partnership that will ensure that our actions as nations and global community guarantee the sustainability in our oceans for our benefit today and future generations. The people of Koror have long history of relying on marine environment and natural resources. In meeting with economic needs for illustrative purposes, our rock islands, beaches, and world-renowned underwater wonders of Blue Corner, with a vibrant, colorful corals, scores of fish, and majestic gliding manta rays in Chairman Channel, and globally unique non-stinging jellyfish, Ongayimel Katao, the jellyfish lake, are the only few of the bounties of the marine environment of Koror State that have attracted millions of visitors from around the world and made Koror State the central spot and hub for the tourism industry in Palau. The riches of this ecosystem have been documented in a number of scientific literature that established our attaining outstanding universal values which was a basis of inscription of the Coral State Rock Island Southern Lagoon into UNESCO World Heritage Site list in June 2012 as a mixed site, a natural and cultural site. The significance of this inscription has brought a wealth of opportunities for Coral State to connect with new partners at the international level. Coral State access to many assistance has been possible through partnerships built within a network of organizations that share the belief that oceans connect us all. To name a few, Coral State acknowledges the US, UNESCO, Japan through CHEMAS, JICA, Sasakawa Foundation, and Grassroots Grant Aid. We value our partnership with Australia's the Great Barrier Reef Foundation, to the Resilient Reefs Initiative and the Great Barrier Marine Park Authority, along with scores of other international partners, both public and private. This partnership have been very productive and instrumental building the institutional capacity of Coral State to effectively manage its marine environment. Our local partners have played a crucial role in our progress. To name a few, there are Palau International Coral Reef Center, the Coral Reef Foundation, the Palau Conservation Society, and Nature Conservancy. We continue to aggressively seek out a faster science-based partnership that provide essential data, guidelines, and expert knowledge that drive policy development and improve site management, particularly in the face of climate change and other threats. Our local conservation efforts, coupled with those of regional and international level, would lend a significant global achievement of global ocean conservation targets. Community engagement and all levels remain upfront and ongoing. We have engaged the community through educational awareness and implementation of joint activities, coastal cleanups, and scooping the massive floating marine debris from outside of Palau, reaching the Southern Lagoon, have been a significant in instilling community stewardship. Replanting the rehabilitation of our corals and our marine and terrestrial flora and fauna in partnership with local groups have greatly contributed to building the resiliency of our marine environment. The new Coral State government continues to be active in development of framework that seeks to protect, conserve, and preserve this precious resource. This has been done through legislations, regulations, and smart practices that aim to ensure that it continues to be the source of recreation and economic fuel for state government to fund essential public services to the people and residents of Coral. This returns also back into the effective management of the marine environment. We must continue to achieve clear and balanced platform that allows our marine environment to be a viable source of economic prosperity and source of livelihood to assure healthy and bountiful ocean legacy for our children. It is our obligation to ensure that handover heritage that we do not mismanage and destroy to our children and the next generation. In these challenging times, we are living with a global pandemic that has greatly crippled our tourism industry. Coral State must look beyond traditional means of revenue streams and be innovative exploration other sources in wider scope of blue economy. I recognize that this can only be done through continuing the new partnership that will tap into unexplored potentials and also enhance our traditional tourism products toward high-value tourism and sound development in our rock islands and around the marine environment. We are keen on continuing to foster partnership at both domestic and international level that realize the potential of our ocean and cross-cutting sector for sustainable development of Coral Palau, thus the blue economy. In closing, I wish to reiterate the importance of our oceans, what it means to us and our survival, particularly as people who have lived, existed off the waters for thousands of years. I urge all of us to move forward with proactive actions that continue to conserve and protect this precious resource. I will end by putting this on the table. Coral State is open and ready for proactive engagement and partnership that are guided by long-term ocean conservation investment that will aid in our recovery and bring us further into the next development phase of prosperity to be found in the blue economy. This begins by establishing ocean partnerships. Thank you for coming to Palau, and I truly wish you get to enjoy our share of the ocean and the Rock Islands. Ma'am Sulang.
Thank you so much, Governor. I think that was very clearly articulated that at the level of a state government, the challenges and the opportunities, the importance of the blue economy and partnerships, the public-private partnerships, that's what's really the need here to drive our way forward on a sustainable blue economy. So next, I'm honored to invite Satu Masuru, who is Cabinet Counselor for the National Ocean Policy Secretariat for the Government of Japan. Please join me in welcoming Satu Masaru.
Thank you very much for kind introduction. I'm Sato Masaru. I came from Tokyo yesterday, and this is my first visit to this beautiful country of Palau. And thank you very much for inviting me to give you remarks on blue economy. Since the term blue economy has a variety of meanings, I'd like to confine myself to what Japan has been doing to Pacific Island friends, in particular to Palau. I'd like to make 3 points. First, I'd like to stress the importance of the role played by ocean activities to realize a sustainable Earth. Last year, Dr. Shukuro Manabe was awarded the Nobel Prize on Physics. And his achievement showed that global warming means ocean warming. So in order to realize a blue economy, it is very important for ocean activities to contribute to realize a sustainable Earth. The government of Japan announced that it will aim to become a carbon neutral society by 2050. And speaking of the supply side of the activities, at work and life, we will engage, promote measures, among others, to promote marine-based wind power generation. We are still, there is still many things to do to actually develop the marine-based ocean wind power generation in Asia. But at the same time, we also need to take action to address the adaptation. And I'd like to report to you that recently, Japanese government provided assistance in cooperation with UNDP to provide a solar power generation system in a remote island, Palau island of Tobi. And this was made as an emergency response in case of typhoon and other natural disasters to provide electricity to evacuation center, such as at schools. And we are very delighted to provide this kind of assistance. And in the disaster prevention reduction area, Japan has led the Sendai disaster reduction framework, and we will continue to promote disaster reduction prevention measures from now on. Second point I'd like to make is that in order to realize a blue economy, in addition to addressing the basic needs of our partner countries, like education or health, providing health, the importance of providing basic infrastructure shouldn't be overlooked. And in that process, also I'd like to stress the importance of holding a dialogue with the local community, as well as utilizing science and technology. I'm sure that all of you passed long bridge spanning two main islands of Palau. It's called Japan-Palau Friendship Bridge. And Japan has been providing a variety of assistance, mainly using, especially for the holding of this Seventh Ocean Conference, which will start tomorrow, where we discuss blue economy, and such as rehabilitation of access roads to the stadium, and the improvement of a ballpark, which is called the Japan-Palau ballpark, and also provided financial support to construct floating docks and batteries for telecommunications. And in total, $4 million was provided. And when some of you have a chance to visit Rock Island Resort on Friday, please take a look at the floating dock, which will be relocated to provide support for sightseeing sector of Palau after the conference is over. This way, which is important, is to utilize local knowledge accumulated in the local community, and especially in small island developing states. By engaging all the stakeholders concerned, so that we'll have an efficient, effective, sustainable collaboration will bear fruit. Japan, for the last 40 years, have been doing this by working together. The Embassy of Japan, JICA, the JOCB, and their counterparts of Palau. And although I'm not going into details about the importance of the improvement of science and technology, there's a 1-minute video which was just completed yesterday for this conference. But I already used up all the time, so I would like to go to the last point, which is IUU fisheries. IUU fisheries poses a great threat to a sustainable use of marine resources anywhere in the world. Japanese self-defense forces, Japan Coast Guard personnel, and JICA experts and important private sector stakeholders such as the Nippon Foundation and the Sasagawa Peace Foundation. We have been providing support to provide a training for law enforcement officers, and also the providing us patrol boats. So Japan will remain committed to promoting its measures toward a blue economy with Palau and other like-minded countries in the region. So please, I'd like to invite to visit our embassy video, which details our collaboration. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Sato, and really some key focus on the sort of things that are necessary here at the state level and at the country level and in all SIDS in terms of infrastructure, CO2 neutral and renewables, natural disaster response. And certainly everyone that came across the bridge from the airport should know that that was, as you say, the Japan-Palau Friendship Bridge. And I was working in Palau in those years in the 90s and the 80s when the previous bridge collapsed, and it was a key problem. That's the infrastructure that we need for the blue economy. If we'll move now to, we have a video presentation by Piera Tortora, a colleague from the OECD. If we can launch the video whenever that's ready to go. Great.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for this invitation to participate in the Blue Economy session of the SIDS Global Business Network Forum. My name is Piera Tortora, and I work at the OECD, where I coordinate the OECD Sustainable Ocean for All initiative. And I'm very delighted to be here today to tell you a little bit more about this initiative. So the initiative was created in 2019, and it has as main purpose to provide support to developing countries in their transition towards more sustainable ocean economies that can create value for the people and for the environment. And the initiative also explores how development cooperation can better support developing countries in this transition. Our work at the Sustainable Ocean for All initiative is currently focused on four main priorities. The first one is providing global analysis on sustainable ocean economies and guidance for impactful development cooperation in support of sustainable ocean economies. The second is tracking development finance for sustainable ocean economies. Third, helping mobilize sustainable finance for sustainable ocean economies. And third, providing country-level evidence and policy support. So I will quickly talk you through some of the work that we're doing under each one of these priorities. So focusing first on global analysis, a couple of years ago, we produced this report, Sustainable Ocean for All, which you see here. We're building on the potential that of the ocean economy. We basically highlighted what are some of the opportunities and challenges for developing countries to benefit more from the expanding ocean economy, or at least the trend that was going on before COVID-19. And one of the things that we have highlighted, and you can see it here, is that lower middle income countries and low income countries actually have a higher share of their GDP that depends on ocean economy sectors like fisheries and others. But actually they are in a paradoxical situation that when we look at the global value added from the ocean economy, these same countries actually capture a very negligible global share of that global value added. So in the report, what we do is that we provide some policy, we identify and highlight some policy tools and also some financing instruments that developing countries can use to enhance the benefits that they can draw from sustainable ocean economies. Just quickly on the tracking of development finance, as you know, there is no place where we can find a comprehensive database or data set of finance for sustainable ocean economies. Data on this is pretty scattered and scarce. So to help fill this gap at the OECD as part of the Sustainable Ocean for All initiative, we have started to track official development assistance in support of ocean economies. And we have developed three main indicators. So we're able now to track both how much official development assistance targets the ocean economy, meaning ocean economy sectors like fisheries, tourism, shipping, etc. We also assess how much of that actually contributes to enhance the sustainability of these sectors, or it helps to restore and protect the marine ecosystems that the ocean economy depends on. And thirdly, we also track ODA for land-based interventions that do have an impact on the ocean. For example, waste management projects, waterways projects, etc. And you see some examples here of the kind of data and information that we can highlight from this work. We also have work on mobilizing sustainable finance for the ocean economy. So here you can see that we also track ODA, how much private finance is mobilized through ODA for sustainable ocean economies. And you have some data here where you can see, for example, in what sectors the private finance is mobilized and through which instruments. So this is one part of the work that we're doing. The other part of the work that we're doing is also looking at innovative financing instruments like blue bonds, innovative insurance schemes, other debt instruments and debt for nature swaps, for instance, that can help mobilize more finance for the sustainable ocean economy. And thirdly, we also work on the regulations and both policy and financial levers that can help enhance sustainability, the sustainability of investments. because ultimately what's really important is really diverting finance from the current unsustainable uses and through regulations and policy tools and levers move this finance towards more sustainable uses. We also work on country level evidence and support. So we have developed what we call the Sustainable Ocean Economy Country Diagnostics, which are articulated around 3 analytical pillars. So we look at what are the economic trends of the ocean economy in a specific country, meaning how big the ocean economy is, how much it is contributing to the overall economy. But we also look at what are the climate and environmental impacts on the ocean economy sectors. Then we look at the governance architecture and the policy instruments that the country is using and can scale up and use to enhance the sustainability of its ocean economy. And we'll look at financing flows and instruments, again, to enhance sustainability. And here on the right, you just see a little example from the Sustainable Ocean Economy Country Diagnostics of Indonesia, which we have released earlier last year. And soon we will be releasing also the country diagnostics for Cabo Verde. Finally, we have also recently produced a paper on the impacts of COVID-19 on small island developing states. We noted that these countries have been impacted very strongly and more strongly than other developing countries. And this is largely because of their small and undiversified economies, many of which are dependent on tourism, so an ocean economy sector. And so based on this work, we have started what we call the Blue Recovery Hubs. This is policy support and evidence to developing countries to spur a recovery that can leverage sustainably the ocean economy. So what we do in practice is we provide support to countries to assess and better understand the impacts from the COVID pandemic on their ocean economies. We provide support to develop recovery plans and actions that can both restart ocean economy sectors more sustainably, but also harness new opportunities, new sustainable opportunities from the ocean economy. And thirdly, we support the country develop partnership platforms to help align and mobilize support and resources from development cooperation players, as well as investors and other actors. So this was a very quick overview of our work, and I'm sorry I'm not there with you, but I very much look forward to future interactions, and please do get in touch if you have any questions. Thank you so much.
Great. Well, that was really a good overview of what's going on at the macroeconomic level and the work that OECD is pursuing. And we've been coordinating with them at the World Ocean Council as well. To keep moving forward with our program, then I'd like to invite Emily McGlone, who's the director at the director at Peace Boat, to come forward and take the podium. Emily.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here. I'd like to start out by giving a big thank you to all of the conference organizers and all of our partners in Palau and the government officials who have put so much time and energy into making this conference possible. So thank you very much. It's an honor to be here and present with all of you today. I would like to start out, first of all, by just talking about Peace Boat as a partnership venue. Peace Boat, as an international organization affiliated with ECOSOC, at the United Nations, the Economic and Social Council, has been traveling the world for more than 38 years as a floating venue for partnerships. So I'd like to introduce a little bit about our organization using the screen here. As we travel on board the ship, we are using a passenger ship which fits about 1,000 people on board. Sorry, here we go. And on the side of our ship, you will notice that we have the SDGs logo painted on the hull. So we proudly sail as a representative in a partnership with the United Nations SDG Action Campaign. We travel to more than 20 countries every 3 months, which means we visit many ports around the world and organize events together with civil society, United Nations partners, and governments in every port that we visit, including many small island developing states or large ocean nations. We sail as a socially and environmentally responsible organization, so we try to have a positive impact on all of the countries that we visit around the world, interacting with local partners on the ground and highlighting their efforts to make the world a more sustainable place. And as I mentioned, because we do sail in partnership with the SDGs Action Campaign, all of our activities on board the ship, including guest speakers, partners, and youth organizations, focus on sustainability. We raise awareness about these activities through onboard conferences. So you could imagine this conference room might be one of the examples on board the ship where we have guest speakers highlighting all these different topics with a major focus, of course, on quality education and SDG 14 for life below water. And with that, we started our Ocean and Climate Youth Ambassador Program, which we're very excited to present here today at the SIDS Global Business Networking Forum, because we invite youth from small island developing states to come on board and share their challenges, as they are truly the ones on the front lines of ocean degradation and climate change, but they are also the ones to come up with the solutions. So by inviting them on board, we get them to exchange ideas with experts in the field and also to create a network of youth working towards positive change. And I'm sure this picture looks very familiar because we are now here in Palau, and Peace Boat was one of the first passenger ships to arrive into Palau and to sign the Palau Pledge on board with more than 1,000 participants on board. And we hope to share this message of the Palau Pledge with many other island nations also to help to encourage more environmentally responsible tourism. And when we signed the Palau Pledge on board, we also made a pact that we would continue to invite more Palauan youth to come join us on board the Peace Boat. And in addition to Palauan youth, we've also had in the previous years youth from Fiji, the Marshall Islands, Kiribati, Maldives, Seychelles, Trinidad and Tobago, Belize, Fiji, and Timor-Leste, Mauritius, Singapore, and Barbados. So we hope that many of you who are here today who are interested in having youth representatives from your countries join us are welcome to have them come on board. This program is important because the youth are able to share then their realities from their various countries with delegates who are working with the United Nations. We give them a seat at the table so they're able to speak at various conferences, and that they're also able to interact with areas of the world, including the United States or North America, Europe, and other areas who are not always aware of all of the challenges that are being faced by island nations. And with that, we also decided that it's not just enough to do education and raise awareness, but to actually make a difference by having a ship that is more sustainable. So right now we are working towards the EcoShip project, which will be the first ship to sail as a passenger ship using solar and wind power, reducing our CO2 by 40%. So we have these 10 retractable sails, which will be featured on the roof of the ship along with solar power to help reduce our impact on the oceans and to help also create a venue that can be used by our partners all around the world. So this EcoShip has a different multi-purpose event spaces on board, exhibition spaces, including a live garden and botanical space where we can learn about the real ecosystems around the world. And we're also hoping that this achieved cut in CO2 emissions can be an example for the maritime industry, because we know that we need radical change and it's time to make a positive impact now. So with the recycled gray water and energy reduction, we hope that this will be a place not only for conferences and events on board our ship, but also for global events like the Our Ocean Conference or COP, the Climate Change Conference of the United Nations. So with that, I would like to also mention that as we're working towards solar energy and renewables, we recently partnered with Blue Planet Alliance and Mr. Hank Rogers, who is here, if you want to just raise your hand, as a philanthropist and visionary who's pioneered this project. And we've started an eco-sprint together with Planet Home. We are working together to host these workshops, which we'll be hosting here in Palau on the 15th of April. And we would invite all of you to also join us in this effort for all small island developing states to come together and reach 100% renewable energy by 2045. So we're hosting a reception also following the workshop, so we'd love to have all of you join us. We hope that we can reach through these networks and through these conferences all of the island nations who are here with us today. And lastly, I would like to share the new video of our EcoShip project in closing. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and we hope to host the next Our Ocean Conference after Panama, possibly on board the EcoShip. Thank you.
Thanks very much for that glimpse into the future and with the history of what Peace Boat has been doing, bringing us together around the ocean. What also brings us together, particularly in SIDS, and what connects us is the shipping industry. And so we're very honored to have Bo Simonsen, CEO of the Maersk McKinley Moller Center for Zero Emission Shipping, as to brief us on what's going on in this important change in the shipping industry as they move to a cleaner, greener, and zero-emission future. Bo, please welcome Bo.
Thank you very much, Chairman, Excellencies, organizers. Thank you very much for setting up this very meaningful and very valuable conference in this beautiful country. I'm the CEO of the Maersk McKinney Møller Center for Zero Carbon Shipping, and what I'd like to share with you today is a few concrete initiatives coupled with a vision that is a platform, a starting point for initiating some real concrete activities about a sustainable transition. The Maersk McKinney Møller Center for Zero Carbon Shipping was established about 2 years ago with a vision to catalyze, accelerate a transition towards sustainable decarbonization of the maritime industry. And by sustainable, we mean safe, just, and equitable. And it has to go to zero in 2050 in a good way. The way we work with this is that we work with leading companies and governments across the globe to really understand how can we create a vision together, how can we create objectives and strategies and plans and concrete activities together. And today I'd like to share with you some of those concrete activities. We are an independent and we do have to work with countries and governments that have vested interests, but we as an organization don't have that. Our only interest is that we get decarbonization for a better world. So we work with scientific principles and we work with data in order to lay out these pathways for the future. So one of the most important things we're working with at the moment is the concept of green corridors. And this concept is really about getting the new value chains to work together to get decarbonized shipping going. It means that we need to work with producers of cargo, we need to work with shipping companies, we need to work with ports, we need to work with energy companies in order to understand how these new systems are going to work and then actually concretize this in what we call green corridors to actually get this going. So this is really about finding the countries and the companies that are willing to initiate this transition and then start to get it going. We believe that at the end of this decade, we will have global regulation that will be pulling the entire industry, but we can't wait for that to come along, so we need to get going, and that's what this is about. So it is about initiating the transition and initiating the market. It is about demonstrating how these new business models are working with developed and less developed countries across the value chain. And it is actually also about learning from these demonstration projects in order to understand what the future standards and what the future regulation and what the future business models should look like. So right now we're working with green corridors in multiple places across the globe, and you can see the green dots here on the map. And we have quite a lot of activities ongoing here, so if any of you are interested in working with us on this, I'd just like to extend an invitation to reach out. You can see we are in many parts of the world, but we're not everywhere. And two particular projects I'd like to mention today is in Northern Europe and in Chile. So those areas are distinctly different by nature, and therefore for us it's very interesting to work with these two areas in order to figure out how do we get going with this new way of doing business and new way of shipping. So first of all, the European Green Corridor Network is shown on the chart here, and the basic idea here is really to work with all the countries, the major ports, with cargo owners ranging from agriculture and minerals and refined high-value products, to work with ship owners, to work with energy companies that will provide the green fuels for the shipping to get going. So you can see the example here with the green dots on the chart is the concrete countries and ports that we're working with at the moment. The other example I wanted to mention is our work with the Chilean government, which is about understanding how Chile can provide renewable energy and renewable green fuels for the shipping industry. Chile has a potential of producing much more renewable energy that they can consume themselves, and therefore provide fuels that can be exported or used in international shipping. At the same time, they have mining products, they have agriculture products that they want to export to the global markets in a sustainable, zero carbon way. And I think this is equivalent probably to many of the countries that you are representing. So I think this is also a tremendously exciting project where we'll be working with the government, we'll be working with companies in Chile, we'll be working with energy producers and fuel producers, with ports, with shipping companies, in order to concretize how this new business system is going to play out. And the timelines for the two projects I'm working with here, they are short. It's not long-term R&D, it's really about getting the business systems going. So right now we're doing business feasibility studies on these. We want to publish the blueprints, so you can all find those results when we publish them. And please reach out if you'd like to engage in this. Thank you very much for your attention. Tremendously good to be here with all of you. Thank you.
That's great, Bo. Thank you for that really practical and reality-based effort of leadership to really transition an entire part of the global blue economy to sustainability and low emissions. With that, we'd like to call up the panel now to take their places up on the front table. So if I could go ahead and have Axel, Sandra, Keith, and Jaap all join us up here. And we'll move into this panel discussion that continues with the focus on the blue economy, and in particular a bit more focus on fisheries. So we got everyone? Here we go. right, well, welcome. Welcome everyone on the panel. Thanks for coming to join. And let's continue this discussion a little bit more informally then about the blue economy. But first we'll have each of you spend a couple of minutes introducing yourselves and just briefly and then but mainly responding to a series of questions. And so we'll start with Sandra Grant with the Caribbean Regional Fisheries Management Mechanism to talk about the challenges that SIDS face in the development of fisheries, and particularly sustainable fisheries, and how these are being overcome through partnerships. So Sandra, if you want to take the floor, grab a microphone, and please.
Thank you, Paul. Again, Sandra Grant from the Caribbean Regional Fisheries Mechanism Secretariat. Our headquarters is in Belize, and we have an office also in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Excellencies and distinguished guests, welcome. I just want to say thanks to the UN OHRLLS for inviting me to come all this way, bearing in mind that it's almost midnight in Belize, but I'm here. So the challenges for COVID in the fisheries and the aquaculture sector in the Caribbean, there's been a number of challenges, but as you can see, some of the reports highlight that because of the need for food and food security within the member states, fishing became an important sector for us. But there were some challenges. We had our supply chain disruption coupled with the collapse of the foreign markets, which led to a disruption of exports, shipping, supplying of fishing equipment, financial transaction. To this date, we're still having issues with ships exporting products or fish products from the region. There's also the issue of inadequate cold storage capacity. You'd want to store the fish until you're able to sell it at a good price. And one of the problems we found was that there was just not enough capacity in the region. There was also the increased demand for fish and fish products. There was limited access by consumers to local markets due to the peak and the lockdown, the closures of markets, outlets, restaurants, and the hotels. So the fishers basically were selling mainly door-to-door to the local markets. During the pandemic also, there was a shift in consumer preference, the more canned fish products, and we've seen that now evolving, where we are seeing almost quite an increase in the amount of imports that we're having now in the region, and we now have a mandate from the heads of government saying to us that we should reduce all our imports by 25% by the year 2025, and so we are working towards that. There was increased pressure, you can imagine, on our marine protected and conservation areas due to reduced management present. Because of the lockdown, the fisheries officers were not able to go out to enforce, and so some fishers did some illegal activities. There was also infrastructure and mechanism to buffer the shocks, the provision of disaster funds, microloans, insurance. Those became also inadequate for the fisheries sector. What lessons can we learn from COVID to increase our resilience in the future? Diversification, diversification, diversification. We have heard that all morning. Especially for us, we have to look at the diversification in our export markets. We need to promote low energy, value-added seafood processing and greater emphasis on food preservation methods. A lot of what we do is chilled, frozen fish. We have to look at other ways of preserving, new ways of doing business. There was a reduction in the reliance on the local tourism sector as the primary market for much of our high-valued products. So we have heard earlier with the loss of the tourism market, fishing sector, we suffered as well because of that loss in our consumers. We need to revitalize the fisherfolk organization in a different way to enhance our disaster planning and response and promotion of primary insurance to fisherfolks. We have seen a surge of insurance, of personal insurance. Some companies are still reluctant for personal insurance for fishermen because fishers are very unpredictable. A fisherman will tell you every day is a fishing day, but not every day is a catching day. So because of that, then it is very difficult for them to get personal insurance. But we have also seen where we are now doing parametric insurance at the higher level, at the national level, and that is proving to be useful. Research and development in mariculture and aquaponics, we have seen a surge of that within our region. To strengthen and expand the value chain, which could contribute to improve reliance on the sector. And we talked about it today, digitization, e-commerce. I can give you an example in Belize. The ladies, we did some training with the ladies in terms of social media and how social media could be used to market their products. And that went off very well. We need investment in innovation and in technology, but also we need that strong public-private partnerships as we move forward. But I want to congratulate the government in the region because without their action, their action was critical to our recovery. There was the revision of the occupational health, personal hygiene, and food safety guidelines for our fishers. There was promotion and development of alternative business model or services in order to get the industry going. But one of the most critical things was that we declared fishermen essential workers. And what that meant was that they could go out and do the fishing and return home in order to feed the nation. In some countries, there was concessionary fuel for all authorized fishers after, because once we had the pandemic, the price had gone down. And if if the gas prices are high, then some countries provided concessions. So the unique challenges for SID faces in the development of sustainable fisheries as it relates to the blue economy is one of the things that we identified. We identified a number of things, and one of the main things that we identified and the thing that we're working on is the weakness in our fisheries value chain. We actually saw where the gaps were in our value chain systems. So how do we make our fisheries value chain more resilient? At the 7th meeting of the ministers that in charge of fisheries and agriculture and aquaculture, of the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States last week in Ghana, the minister agreed to scale up sustainable and inclusive fisheries and the aquaculture value chain. So we started studying the value chain in the region. We look at the skills gap analysis. We did our capacity building. We look at the food safety standards. And one of the things we realized that if we wanted to increase imports, then we had to look at our food safety standards. We had to look at the legislations. We had to look at what was in place at all levels of the value chain. And that is what we have been working on. We also realized that one of the key sectors, the private sectors, especially the processing sectors, we have been working very closely with the fishermen. We have the Caribbean Network of Fisherfolk Organization that we have been working closely, which includes national fishermen's organizations across the region. But what we realize is that we haven't been doing a lot of work with the processors. No, those are the innovators. Those are the ones with the capital investments, the product developments, the enterprise developments, and we needed to get them on board and we need to sensitize them. And that is where we are moving towards. We also noticed that the government needs to provide this enabling environment and incentives. We need to remove the barriers to trade, which the CARICOM is working on, and to strengthen policies and regulations across the board. But also we wanted to diversify. One of the lessons that we had learned is that we have been diversifying in fisheries in terms of adaptation and climate change for quite some time. And when COVID hit, what we realized is that a lot of people from the tourism sector came into fishing, right? And we welcomed them because they were originally fishers who went into tourism. But now that things have turned around a bit, we know they are going back into the tourism. So there's that flexibility to move between the sectors, and that is what we want, this adaptive nature of the sector. Wrap it up? So in wrapping up, I just want to conclude, we must learn to cope. We must be innovative in our problem solving. We must seek out partnerships between and beyond the SIDS. We must engage all our stakeholders in our blue economy space, but we must be flexible and adaptive in our governance and management arrangements. Thanks.
For that very comprehensive, that really painted the whole picture there for what you've been dealing with in the region. So we'll jump over to Keith Mesebelu to continue on the fisheries theme, who I think would agree that fishers are essential workers, and that was really important to see that development in the Caribbean. So Keith, over to you.
Oh, okay. Thank you, sir. My name is Keith Mesebelu. I just started working in the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Environment in the fisheries sector. Before that, I was a fisherman, so I want to start by saying that what partnerships with the other SIDS should be established to support sustainable development in Palau fisheries. I think it can be defined in a broad sense. Partnerships in technical support, partnerships in infrastructure support, and partnerships in financial support. These three main partnerships can really help fishermen, especially in the SIDS countries. We need technical experts to come in, show us how to do it. We need financial support to pay for, help pay for all these activities. Even infrastructure too, and the technical support. Okay. From a private sector point of view, and what your perspectives on private and partnerships to develop a sustainable blue economy? For example, I'm a fisherman. Before I was working, before becoming employee of the ministry. So I would have to say that fishermen need innovative ideas, how to do how to manage their financials. That's a key important thing that will help these small fishermen achieve to the next, to move to the next level, to see, not just for livelihoods, but they can grow and become a more sustainable fisherman and help with the economy. That was very sharp.
No, thank you, Keith. I think that really complemented what Sandra covered there, and to really bring that reality check of the fishermen and women in the water, in the boats, and the issues that they're facing. And this focus, it really supported what Sandra was saying about technical, financial, infrastructure partnerships to really make businesses. Every fisher or group of fishers is a small business essentially, so we need to help them have the tools and the infrastructure and the know-how to move forward. Let's move over to Axel now. Axel Bodwell, who is the SIDS Youth Aims, with the SIDS Youth Aims Hub in the Seychelles, to talk to us about the youth aspect of this, the blue economy, and moving forward. Axel, over to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. So my name is Axel Bodwell. I'm from the Seychelles Islands. SIA Seychelles, SIDS Youth Aims Hub, is a youth-led NGO that advocates for sustainable development projects. So any youth-led projects. So why the importance of youth being represented at all decision levels? The key role that young people play in those decision levels are in terms of when it comes to implementing those projects, when it comes to monitoring, reviewing those agendas. And one key important is to hold the government accountable for their actions. So it is important for young people to be represented at these decision making, not just at national level, but also international levels as well. Because at the end of the day, we will be the ones dealing with the consequences of decisions that were made in the past. As young people, this is now the time where we will be in the position to make decisions based on what the previous generation were dealing with prior to us. And SIA has implemented 4 editions of our Blue Economy Internship Program. The Blue Economy Internship Program aims to stimulate the interest of young people to take on careers in the blue economy or any related fields. So what we did was partner young people with blue economy experts to get hands-on, first-hand knowledge of what they need, both academically and professionally, to take on these careers in these related fields. So they got a lot of opportunities to learn from these experts in our country. They also got the chance to learn about the issues related to oceans, such as plastic pollutions, and also different types of the importance of our ocean, being a small island developing states, and also getting the opportunity to appreciate all the resources that as young people we're benefiting from our ocean. And from an entrepreneurship point of view, it is important to train young people to become entrepreneurs, to foster this entrepreneurship spirit in them, because at the end of the day, it is important for us as young people to come forward with innovative ideas, with different perspectives, to not just let previous generations' sustainable practices, such as the artisanal fishing, to die with them, to also sustain those ideas, sustain those practices, and as young people to bring back those sustainable practices. And also through the use of technology, we will get the chance to bring about innovative ideas, to get the chance to partake in markets that has not been tapped before, and this will allow young people to help further develop the blue sector economy. Thank you.
Go ahead and pass that down. Thanks, Axel. Great to see that initiative, which I think, there are similar efforts going on in other countries. It'd be great to connect up the young blue economy sort of movements in different areas, and I think this link with preserving traditions, but also looking to future careers. And I know many of the industries that we deal with around the world, they're concerned about their career flow pipeline, and so to have organizations like yours working to get young people involved in these careers and that hands-on experience and mentorship, et cetera, is really great and really needed. If we could move on to Jaap van Heerden. He's UN Resident Coordinator from Micronesia to provide his perspectives from the UN Regional Office. Jaap, over to you.
Thank you very much, Paul. I understand there might be a particular interest in a very important role that the United Nations can play. And I think that is about partnerships. That is about levering partnerships. Partnerships that support the blue economy development. And very importantly so, the private sector. I think we talked virtually, right? When we talked about a very interesting role that the Chamber of Commerce, can play in helping with the development of the small island development states. I have had so many meetings since I started on the 1st of October as the resident coordinator of the very new multi-country office for Micronesia for the North Pacific, covering 5 countries here. And I've been truly impressed by the people in North Pacific, the Micronesian countries, at all levels, at the community level, at the leadership level, anywhere in between, very warm-hearted, very much cooperating with one another, trying to come to a good future for their children. I listened very carefully to you just now, and this is what I also hear echoed, when I talk to so many of the very good people that I meet here. But perhaps let me come back to your question, and very much focusing on the importance for the UN to help leverage partnerships. This is also, you know, when we look at partnerships, it's about facilitating close engagement, very good coordination among the various stakeholders. And it's about achieving the sustainable, inclusive, and resilient socio-economic development. I'll touch upon the 3 types of partners. First, government, then development partners, and then the private sector. So first of all, when we look at governments, I think it's perhaps important, you know, that governments need to create this enabling business environment while encouraging key blue economic players like tourism, fisheries, shipping sectors to adopt a new and proper ways of doing business, including the environment, social, and government principles. We sometimes call them ESG principles. The government should perhaps also prepare adequate financial provisions, such as emergency funds and relief, to support private enterprises to deal with sudden demand changes in the global markets caused by massive external events, such as the COVID-19 pandemic and the war in Ukraine. Governments must also work closely with all the stakeholders to share knowledge, ideas, and experience to deal with various issues, perhaps through organizing conferences and forums like what we do here today. In this sense, this event that has been organized is perhaps very good timing, and the UN's active involvement, I think it's desirable, if I may say so. The second one is on development partners. So developing partners are requested to provide continued technical assistance to small island development states for institutional capacity building, human resource development, private sector development, and technology transfers. Such donor assistance could help mitigate the COVID-19 and other negative impacts on the economies and lead them to enhance their socio-economic development to its realization of the blue economy. Thirdly, on the private sector, perhaps the private sector, you know, may wish to refocus its strategies towards trade promotion and FDI attraction for blue economic development in the post-pandemic era. Trade and investment are conventional topics, and we have already worked with them for the past decades. However, they are worthwhile for us to revisit to design new development strategies for the SIDS, as they directly and significantly encourage us to enhance some key success factors for the blue economy, such as entrepreneurship development, technology transfer, innovation enhancement, institutional capacity building, human resource development, and wider market access, all of which are crucial for the blue economy realization. Those are the 3 partners that I touched upon. Perhaps finally, I would like to present one example of a successful public-private collaboration to develop the blue economy. The Global Fund for Coral Reefs, GFCR, the very first UN multi-partner trust fund for Sustainable Development Goal 14, Life Below Water, is a 10-year, $500 million blended finance vehicle that leverages grants to attract private sector investment in the blue economy through investable incubation projects. GFCR has targeted 3 Micronesian SIDS, namely Palau, the Federated States of Micronesia, and the Republic of Marshall Islands, for its first phase fund deployment. I have not even come close to where I feel that the private sector can really play a very key role, and that is innovation. That is really doing things differently. I very much appreciated this presentation that I've just seen, and from 2 speakers. One, I think, was this very impressive ship that's going around, and the other one from Maersk. And I'm sure there must have been other good presentations that I may have missed when I stepped out. Why is that so important? I think especially in the North Pacific, where as a resident coordinator for the United Nations family, we are there to support the people and the leaders of 5 countries, 5 Micronesian countries. Every Micronesian country is very unique, but they have very significant challenges. And one of the challenges is the rising level, is the rising water, the rising level of the sea, rising sea levels. The sea level rise, that's right. And it's serious because that means, you know, we have 2 nations out of 5 nations that if things are continuing as they are today will just disappear under the waves. One of them, Kiribati, and the other one, Marshall Islands. Are we just going to accept this? Of course not. But if they would go into a more difficult situation and they would have more and more saltwater intrusion, they will have more and more significant king tide events, are we going to give up? No, we should not. We should really try to use technology, we should use, you know, human innovation, see whether we can come up with solutions. Solutions where we can continue for these people to stay in their ancestral locations, even in the worst case scenarios. And let's look at that. And that is where I think the private sector can play a very important role, academia and think tanks. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Yeah, and we really heard that theme of innovation come out so many times today. And I would note we have a global Blue Economy Innovation Initiatives Network through the World Ocean Council that brings together the accelerators and incubators around the world that focus on the blue economy to help create a level of synergy and coordination there. I know we're getting close to closing time. Do we have? I know we had one particular intervention from the floor that will. Shall we take that quickly, please? From Masanori Kobayashi had requested to make an intervention.
I'm sitting here on your right-hand side.
Okay.
I can use this microphone. I simply wanted to mention that I once and my colleagues were all encouraged by your inspiring presentations. And we simply wanted to say that we'd like to be a part of the global coalitions to pursue blue economy models that really give benefits to the multiple stakeholders around the world. And we have made a commitment to support blue economy model development for the world and also for the Pacific Island countries. And we also address blue carbons and sustainable fisheries, co-benefit synergies, and we're very much excited to pursue such a collaboration opportunity in the coming days and beyond this Our Ocean Conference. I thank you very much.
Thank you for that commitment, and I think this really exemplifies the value of these gatherings, the value of the SIDS Global Business Network to bring together all of us to provide those kind of connections and those sort of commitments. We are unfortunately out of time, and we have the break coming up now. I'd really like to thank all of the panelists here for the input they had and the earlier speakers. So please join me in thanking them. And we have a break. Do you want to say anything from the Secretariat side?
Yes, just to say that coffee will be served in the same place as before, and we hope to see you back in 10 minutes.
So let's thank the panelists and speakers as we go to break.